with Metal Arts, a nonprofit out of Twisp, Washington. Today, we are going to learn to draw and paint
polar bears in sweaters.
Alright, so in this project, we are going to revisit some of the skills you might have learned in other videos. We are going to revisit our line and pattern skills. We're going to revisit watercolor skills and drawing skills, of course. If you watch the color mixing video, you can mix your own colors for this. So in this project, you will need a piece of watercolor paper, a pencil, an eraser, a permanent marker, watercolors, a brush, some water, a napkin, or you can have simply a piece of paper and a packet of crayons or colored pencils. Okay, so first going to draw our bear head, which is a U shape that's upside down, or maybe it's a rainbow shape for you. So that's our bear's head. And then we'll do where the neck goes. And now we're going to find our ears. So up here, we'll be outlining in Sharpie. So we are going to draw not so dark, and we can change our lines. We'll put a little inner ear. This is the middle part of the ear. And then down here is where the snout will be. So it's kind of like a circle. I did the letter C and a backward C to kind of get a circle there. And we'll put the bear's nose. So I do kind of a flat line, and then I kind of curve it around. So it's like a U shape with a flat line. And then we'll give it a little mouth. And our bear needs some eyes. So somewhere between the ear and the mouth area, we'll do a little eye and another little eye. And then inside these eyes, we'll leave a little white spot. So if you can just draw that in. So this is essentially our bear head. And then from the neck, we're going to do a shoulder and a shoulder. And then all down here is going to be our sweater. So it's like a hand knit sweater with patterns. And now we're going to create space for the pattern. So we're going to follow this neckline, and we're going to curve and curve. We're making places to put our bear's patterns in the sweater. So now you get to decide what patterns you want to put in here. Maybe you have some shapes that you really love to draw. I'll put some tree shapes in mine on the top here. And then this is where you can go ahead and hit pause and catch up, or take your time figuring out what kind of patterns you'll want to do. I'm doing some triangles and basically just creating a quick pattern. And then I will get my Sharpie. I'm gonna do this like curved upside down rainbows. And maybe just some stripes down here because I run out of space. Okay, so now you're going to zoom through your Sharpie lines or black marker, whatever you have, colored pencil that's dark. You can just leave it as pencil if you want to. If you're going to use crayons or color pencils or markers to color this in, you can use just a black crayon or whatever black version of coloring mediums you're going to use. But since we're doing watercolors on this, I need a black permanent marker so the water doesn't make it run all over the place. And so, yes, I have some pencil lines that I'll need to erase. So we're going to quickly go through, and you can make this more detailed, but remember, the more detail, the more you're going to have to color in. So really tiny details are going to be harder to fill in with a paintbrush, right? Nice bold polar bear sweater with big shapes is a simple and easy way to go that looks really awesome when you're done. Okay, so Sharpie lines are almost done. Put my lid on my Sharpie, and then we're going to do the quick erase all the lines that I don't want to keep. We will fill in a few places with your marker or crayon that you use to do your outlines. And just make sure you really brush away that eraser dust. Okay. Ta-da! Erased. Now I'm going to take my Sharpie again, and I'm going to fill in inside these ears right here and over here. And then the eyes, we're going to fill in this major part and leave the little glint of light. And on the top of the nose, we'll leave just a little sliver of light up there. Fill the rest in. All right, so now we have our polar bear in a sweater. And now we get to add the color. The background is going to be painted because the bear is white. So we want something to contrast the bear. So I suggest coloring the background on this project, but I would start with the sweater. So go ahead and push pause, get the materials you're going to use to color, and we'll get started with that. Okay, so now I have my watercolors, and I have water and a paintbrush, and I have a napkin if I need it. So the first thing is to wake up your watercolors, add a little bit of water, right, in each section of color you're going to use, and then just start picking a color and filling in your sweater. I recommend not painting two wet areas side by side right away. So what I mean by that is, if I paint all these trees, I'm not going to paint the background right away. I'm going to move to a different shape, and then I'll come back up when that's a little drier and fill in the back. Otherwise, it will kind of spread and bleed the colors together, which is a nice effect if that's what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to keep painting here. Focus on your sweater, and then we'll jump ahead to the background because I want to show you a couple of cool tricks with the background that might be helpful and more effective for you if you're doing watercolors. If you are just doing marker or crayon, my advice to you for the background would be to use some nice soft color and use the crayon or the pencil on the side to fill in this large area, because if you use the tip of something, it's going to take a really long time and you might run out of that color marker or have to resharpen that pencil a lot. When you fill in big areas, that's a really special pro tip. Okay, so we've got our sweaters done. Now I'm going to show you how to do some shading on the polar bear's head and to do the background with a cool effect. So the first thing we're going to do is rinse out our brush really good. Make sure it's clean and it's just water on there. Okay, so now I'm going to take my wet brush, so it has an invisible paint, right? It's just water. And I'm going to paint this whole circle around the nose with water. And then I'm going to barely dip my brush into the black paint and let that go all the way around my bear's nose. And then it's a light gray instead of black. You can still see my bear's nose. And if you get a little too much, you can always take your napkin and blot it off. It's a good little trick. We're also going to do that with water first on the ears, just water, then like the tiniest bit of black. My black is so concentrated. That's a nice gray. We're aiming for a gray. So again, you get too much, you can just blot it off. And then, so we have a little bit of gray around the nose and the ears. And then I'm going to paint with water just on this side of my bear. Tiniest bit of black. There we go. I'm making just a little shadow line for my polar bear's face. Gives it some dimension. So that's all I'm going to do to my bear's face. Now I'm going to show you that same trick for the background. You want a wet, clean brush. You're going to paint your whole background with water first. So this is wet on wet watercolors. You might have learned this in a different watercolor video, but if not, or if you need a refresher, this is what you do. Is you paint the whole background. I'm trying not to get my water on my bear, just on the background. And then I'm going to take blue because it's such a nice crisp color, and look, I just tap it and it spreads. It's a nice soft blue and it really spreads. It'll make it have a neat, like, kind of icy effect because this bear should be outside in the ice. I don't know what it's doing wearing a sweater, but there. Now my bear shows up better because I have some color in my background. And that was a really quick way to paint a whole field of color in the background. Nice and soft and with that nice watercolor flow effect. So paint your paper with water, then add a little bit of color. And now you have your polar bear in a sweater.
Thank you so much for learning how to create your own polar bear in a sweater today. Sola, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part, we got to do zigzags, rainbows, trees, and suns and lines.
So
you
the
can
pattern.
do any prints you want.
Any patterns you want. All right. What about you, Isis?
My favorite part was doing the watercolors.
The watercolors. Awesome. What was your favorite part? Was there something you enjoyed or learned? Well, we're so happy that you got to join us today. We hope you will visit us again and do more art with us. And in the meantime, bye for now.
Bye!